We're working on an ALEKS problem that deals with percent yield. Whenever we're asked to determine the percent yield, we must always have a balanced chemical equation. So in this example, we have HBr reacts with NaOH to produce NaBr and H2O. So I want to come up with a balanced chemical equation. So HBr is an acid, NaOH is a base. It reacts to yield a salt and water. So this is a neutralization reaction. I also want to place my given information right underneath my reaction. So it says if 4.73 grams of water is produced, so this is called my actual yield, from 49.4 grams of hydrobromic acid and 39.0 grams of sodium hydroxide. So I have a balanced chemical equation, I have my given numbers, I need to know which reactant to use. When they give me information on more than one reactant, I have to first determine the limiting reactant to figure out which reactant I'm going to start converting. So the first thing I want to do is determine my limiting reactant. And what that is that you're just converting your starting material to moles of product. So I'm going to convert my hydrobromic acid to moles of H2O, and I'm going to convert my sodium hydroxide to moles of H2O. And we want to make sure that the reaction is balanced so that we can get a proper relationship between HBr and H2O. So we're going to look at the coefficients. For every 1 mole of HBr, we get 1 mole of H2O. And those numbers come from the coefficients. I'm going to do the same thing with the base. And for every 1 mole of sodium hydroxide, we have 1 mole of H2O. We're going to compare 0.6105 moles is smaller than 0.9751 moles. So that means my limiting reactant is HBr. We're going to start playing with HBr. So I'm going to start a new conversion. And we're going to convert that to grams of H2O. And we did most of the work, so I'm just going to copy what we have. I'm going to take it a step further and make sure I convert moles to grams. So 1 mole of H2O is 18.0151 grams of H2O. And this gives me 10.999 grams. We don't have to worry about sig figs to the very last step, so I don't want to shave off too much in the middle. Now we are asked to find the percent yield. So the percent yield is my actual yield over my theoretical yield times 100. So my actual was 4.73 grams. My theoretical is 10.99. Remember, theoretical is the amount of starting material converted to grams of product. And I'm going to carry this out to 3 sig figs. So my final answer is 43.0%. Let's take a look at another one. In this example, we have octane that reacts with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water. So before we can figure out the percent yield, we need to come up with a balanced chemical equation. And this is a combustion reaction. So we have oxygen on the reactants, we have carbon dioxide and water on the products. And I want to start writing my given information. It says if 44.1 grams of water is produced, so this is 44.1 grams. I'm going to remind myself that this is called actual, from 102.8 grams of octane and 129.6 grams of oxygen. And we are asked to determine the percent yield of water. Because I have two starting materials, two given informations on the reactants, I need to determine the limiting reactant. And I'm going to convert each reactant to moles of water. And I'm going to do the same thing with the oxygen. And remember to use our coefficients. So for every 25 moles of oxygen, we have 18 moles of H2O. Now we can compare. 2.916 moles of H2O is smaller than 8.1 moles of H2O. So that means that oxygen is my limiting reactant. So I'm going to convert oxygen to my theoretical yield. We've done most of the work, so we're just going to copy most of it down. Okay, converting grams of oxygen to grams of water. This gives me 52.534 grams of water. Remind yourself that this is called the theoretical yield. So when I convert starting material to grams of product, this is called theoretical yield. Now I can go ahead and plug this into my percent yield formula, which is actual yield over theoretical yield times 100. My actual was 44.1. My theoretical is 52.534 times 100. I want to make sure my sig figs are in order. This should be 3 sig figs. So my final answer is 83.9%. Good luck and keep practicing.